What's up, you guys? This lesson, I'm going to be going over strings as data structures. More specifically, I'm going to be covering how strings are sequences of characters, how they work like other lists, some methods you can do with them, and some advanced string techniques that you can do. This lesson is going to be an extension of when I went over strings before within the context of data structures now. So strings can be treated like a sequence, just like a list, allowing for indexing, slicing, a bunch of other methods that are super useful. And you can think of them kind of as like a list of characters put together that are combined as like one kind of piece of data. So in order to access specific characters of a string, you can index, like I said, the exact same you can for a list. Like here's an example here. The 0th character is a P. The negative first, which will be the last, is an N. And if I run this code now, you can see outputs P then N. So same thing, you could slice a string. Here, let me copy these. And then let me add one more where I can actually just print every other one. If you remember, the last one is the step count, how many you're skipping between. So there we go. First one, PYT, from the 0th character, which is P, to the 3rd character, not inclusive, which is H, so PYT. The second one, same thing, except for just starting from the beginning to the 3rd character, starting from the 3rd character to the end, HON. Going through, starting from the first beginning to the end, every other character, P, skip, T, skip, O. Here's some of the methods you can do with them in a table. You can screenshot this, copy the notes below this video for your reference. So the first one is dot lower. This will convert all the letters to lowercase. Dot upper, all of them to uppercase. Dot strip will remove any white space, any leading or trailing white space. Dot split will split a string into a list of substrings. So you could split off of a comma, or you could split off of anything basically. So the way this is useful, split is kind of used a lot. So I'll go over it a little bit more in detail. So for example, like I showed a little bit before in one of the practice examples, say you have a sentence here and you want to create a list based on all of the words in it. You would do sentence.split, and by default it splits on a space. Hold on, let me actually print this out as well. And so as you can see, it splits every time there's a space into a new thing. If you pass anything into here, it will split off of whatever you pass. So for example, if you do an A, which you probably won't do that much, it will split every time there is an A. You see, it'll go up to the A, split, up to the next A, split, and then on. If you want every single character to be an element in a list, you can just convert the sentence to a list. And that splits every single character. So you can also use join to do the opposite basically of split, where you're joining different strings based on some parameter. So this is useful if you have like a list of words, or you have a list of something and you want to create a sentence out of them. You can do dot join with a space, or dot join with a comma like here. So replaces occurrences of a substring. So here's an example where you replace all the L's with a P. Dot find will return the index of the first occurrence of a substring. So this is like the same as index with a list. The first time that letter appears in the string, it'll give you that index. You can check if a string starts with a substring with dot starts with, and you could check if it ends with a substring with dot ends with. So here's some advanced string techniques that you guys might find useful in your programming journeys. So the first one is working with substrings. Here's an example where you have a string. Python programming is fun. Dot count will similarly find the total number of occurrences, like in lists, inside of the string. So Python is there once. If we change this to an M, actually, let me run it first. Python is 1, and then programming, the index of programming will be 7 because it will start on the 7th character. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we change this to an M, for example, I'll put 2 now because there's 2 M's in the sentence. If you want to reverse a string, you can index it like this with -1 as the steps. And what this will do is it will actually return it backwards. And you might also be able to, let me double check real quick. Do dot reverse. You cannot. So if you want to reverse a string, you have to do this or run it through a loop. But this is probably the most easy way for you to remember. So similarly with this, you can check if a string is a palindrome by doing a double equal sign here. And the reason I'm going over a lot of these examples for advanced techniques is because a lot of these are kind of intro questions for people who are learning to program inside of classrooms. Like if you're going to school, this is teaching you, these will be questions that teachers ask you. And usually you'll have to use loops and everything, but there's very simple ways in Python to go about these. So for a palindrome, you can just test if word is equal to its reversed version of itself. And if it is, then it will be true, obviously, because it's a palindrome. So in order to join a list of strings, again, you do dot join. Here's an example where you have a sentence broken down in strings, and you are joining them into a single string sentence. If you want to count words in a sentence, here's an example where you can split the words, where you can split the sentence into individual words, and then just count however long that list is, because that will be all the words. So then that's how you can get word count. And you can see there's 8 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's another example. Say you have like CSV data. There are a lot of CSV methods in Python in order to go through it automatically and do a lot of this stuff for you. But this example is kind of how you can manually do it with a string. Say you have a CSV here, Alice, 25, engineer, and you want these individual parts of a list. You could just do dot split on the comma, and then it will split each of these into its own element in a list. Here, I'll print this out as well. But yeah, this video, just this lesson, just is kind of here to give you guys a better idea of how you could treat strings as data structures, some of the things you can do with them. Yeah, thanks you guys for watching. Hope you guys learned some stuff. If you have any questions, again, DM me, post about it in the community. See you guys in the next one.